That, of course, is not the only thing that happened over this past weekend. Donald Trump went to CIA headquarters to essentially, I mean, I think there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, he wants to show, and he's, of course, obsessed by being surrounded by military people and clandestine service people because he's a kid and he's a trust fund baby, and now he has this big kill apparatus at his disposal. I don't think we have it here, but he. Oh, we do. We have him bragging about. Do we have also the part where he mentions that his uncle was an MIT professor and he's cool? Okay, great. So first, he's going to, and then of course he's going to the CIA because a couple of weeks ago he compared them to Nazi Germany, and there's still many lingering questions about how deep Russia's involvement was in even electing him to office to begin with. So he wants to go and be surrounded by military and intelligence power and also do his version of make nice. And of course, his version of make nice is bloviate, lie, draw weird, unfounded emotional connections with his audience, and bloviate again. So here he is explaining why he is on the same wavelength with the CIA, and he's pretty sure that they all voted for him. And this is sped up. We're going back to our sped up policy on this motherfucker.
Well, I want to thank everybody, very, very special people. And it is true. This is my first stop, officially. We're not talking about the balls, and we're not talking about even the speeches. Although they did treat me nicely on that speech yesterday.
Pause it.
I always call them the dishonest media, but they treated me nicely.
Another falsehood. Roundly criticized speech. Go ahead.
But I want to say that there is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump. There's nobody. And the wall behind me is very, very special. We've been touring for quite a while. And I'll tell you what, 29? I can't believe it. Oh, 28. We better reduce it. That's amazing. And we really appreciate what you've done in terms of showing us something very special. And your whole group. These are really special, amazing people. Very, very few people could do the job you people do. And I want to just let you know, I am so behind you. And I know maybe sometimes you haven't gotten the backing that you've wanted. And you're going to get so much backing. Maybe you're going to say, please don't give us so much backing. Mr. President, please, we don't need that much backing.
Pause it. Why does he always confuse everything with a girl that's asking him not to touch her? Go ahead.
But you're going to have that, and I think everybody in this room knows it. You know, the military and the law enforcement, generally speaking, but all of it, but the military gave us tremendous percentages of votes. We were unbelievably successful in the election with getting the vote of the military, and probably almost everybody in this room voted for me, but I will not ask you to raise your hands if you did. But I would guarantee a big portion, because we're all on the same wavelength, folks. We're all on the same wavelength, right? Who knows? Took Brian about 30 seconds to figure that one out, right? Because we know we're on the same wavelength. But we're going to do great things. We're going to do great things.
So CBS News has reported that the applause, of course, came from staffers that he brought with him to CIA headquarters. Now, again, look, as Bob Marley said, Rasta don't work for no CIA. We're not a pro-CIA show. But, I mean, look, he's standing in front of a monument to unknown CIA case officers who have died, presumably fighting serious and horrible things, right? Nazism, predecessor to the CIA, the Soviet threat, maybe some who died while instigating coups in underdeveloped countries. But the point is that even regardless of your feelings, the monumental act of narcissism and disrespect of showing up anywhere to any institution's sort of sacred monument and bloviating about yourself and then having your staff show up there to clap for you days after you compared the same institution to Nazi Germany, it just reminds us again of who we're dealing with. And of course, that wasn't all that these CIA officers had to sit through. I hope all of a sudden they're not considering engaging in espionage for the other side. Now he talks about how he is a smart person and how that led him to choose Mike Pompeo, who, as director of the CIA, of course, is virulently anti-Muslim and pro-torture. Here he is.
In fact, every time I say I had an uncle who was a great professor at MIT for 35 years, who did a fantastic job in so many different ways academically. He was an academic genius. And then they say, there's Donald Trump, an intellectual. Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
That he actually paraphrased Einstein. Now, we're going now to another part. This is something that he's reiterated many times. It's amazing because he keeps talking about keep the oil. We have gotten oil contracts out of Iraq and places that we've invaded and occupied. In fact, during the occupation, there were some people that the Bush administration put in place there to try to completely privatize the oil industry. It was part of the shock doctrine austerity agenda that they implemented, along with completely ridding the government of all members of the Ba'athist Party, which of course meant that anybody with any technical skills, cleaning out the army, which helped lead to the rise of ISIS and other terrorist groups because you had military people who were trained, capable, unemployed, and not getting paid. And they also attempted to completely privatize the oil industry, but there actually was blowback against that, even inside the occupying forces, because of how dangerous and ludicrous it was. But of course, U.S. oil companies have been certainly taken care of in post-Saddam Hussein Iraq, so I don't even know where he gets this notion from. But he has a lot of notions, and he's going back to one of his favorite points about keeping the oil. Again, Trump at CIA headquarters.
And then after that, it's like, we haven't won anything. We don't win anymore. The old expression, to the victor belong the spoils. You remember I always used to say, keep the oil. I wasn't a fan of Iraq. I didn't want to go into Iraq. But I will tell you, when we were in, we got out wrong. And I always said, in addition to that, keep the oil. Now, I said it for economic reasons. But if you think about it, Mike, if we kept the oil, you probably wouldn't have ISIS, because that's where they made their money in the first place. So we should have kept the oil. But, okay. Maybe you'll have another chance. But the fact is, you should have kept the oil.
Yeah, if you furthered and deepened the occupation and literally took over Iraq's oil supply, you would have more ISIS. Now, he's touching on a lot of important themes. I just have to say one stray observation. He actually legit does have really small hands. I've never really noticed that before, but he actually really does.
Are you serious?
I've never really paid attention to it, but
I can't take my eyes off of them. And in every picture, like when he was holding Melania's hand at the inauguration, he can't get it his hand all the way around her hand.
Jesus,
I know.
It's just not proportionate. Everything else is so bloated. So let's go to now. Of course, though, we're talking about ISIS, talking about oil, talking about how he's like smart, talking about who he picked to direct, now assuring them that they're like totally on the same wavelength and such. And now he has to get, of course, to the real major security question out of the weekend, and that's, of course, reports on the attendance to his inauguration.
So wait a minute. I made a speech. I looked out. The field it looked like 1.5 million people. They showed a field where there were practically nobody standing there. And they said, Donald Trump did not draw well. I said, it was almost raining. The rain should have scared him away, but God looked down and he said, we're not going to let it rain on your speech. In fact, when I first started, I said, oh no. First line, got hit by a couple of drops. And I said, oh, this is too bad, but we'll go right through it. But the truth is that it stopped immediately. It was amazing. And then it became really sunny. Then I walked off and it poured right after I left. It poured. But, we have something that's amazing, because it looked like 1.5 million people, whatever it was. But it went all the way back to the Washington Monument. And I turn on the thing, and by mistake, I get this network. And it showed an empty field. And it said, we drew two.
Yeah, not that many people.
You know, CIA officers, one of the activities they do is, throughout the history, going back to the U-2 bomber, is sort of pore over aerial photography and try to gauge what the situation on the ground is. I don't know that there's many officers, even with, you know, our view of the CIA, that would tell you that actually Trump is right here.
I don't think so. I think that there's a certain level of competence and sort of. I think they might even be better at head counts than Donald Trump.
I don't think you need to be a CIA officer that pores over aerial pictures, Matt, to know that it's not true.
So now we have. Do we have? I think we have some footage of just the parade route, and this must have really stuck in Donald Trump's craw. And then, so this is Donald Trump, and just remember all the people that came out to see President Obama in 08 and 12. Far more people in D.C. to protest this monstrosity than to celebrate.
You know, this definitely bothers him.
No, this definitely bothers him.
Like, he really resents his voters not showing up for his big day. I'm almost positive.
That's definitely. Well, that's why he is seriously going to dismantle healthcare coverage.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Over. Subscribe.